My name is Bob Gregory. I'm just recently joined the M1 Downtown Detroit Partnership Organization, working on transit-oriented development, or as we might call it, development-oriented transit. So trying to frame this, and Dave did a good job in terms of trying to frame Detroit and transit, and if we were going to do an application or an app for integrated mobility in Detroit, it probably would have something along the lines of where can I get my car, where are the on-street parking spaces right in front of this place I want to go to, or where is better yet, where is the valet that I can drop my car off so I don't have to get involved in parking the cars. And on the flip side, on the equity side of it, we have with the unemployment in Detroit running at around 30% almost, which is unbelievable. We have so many of those people that do not have cars or have cars that are in bad shape and can't get to where the jobs are that are now scattered throughout the whole entire Detroit region. So we have a lot of issues and problems in Detroit relative to transit. And even kind of looking back to now, a retro look to Detroit, we did have some really good transit. We had a really great streetcar system, a great interurban system that 50 years ago that all went away. Funny enough, I mean, we're standing here today talking about reintroducing streetcars and light rail to Detroit, funded privately, and those streetcars in the old days were funded privately, but they were bought out by General Motors and other car companies. So, I mean, here we go, kind of deja vu to this thing now, the story of transit in Detroit. But there's a lot of good things happening in Detroit. It's a city that is shrinking in terms of its population, the region. It's a great region. There's a lot of reasons to be in the region from Detroit to Ann Arbor. The city is actually growing in the greater downtown area, and that's really what the focus of M1. M1 stands for the Michigan 1, Highway 1 in Detroit, Woodward Avenue, our main street, and really the focus on our new efforts in Detroit are in the greater downtown to really help connect and make that really connect all the assets and destinations within the greater downtown. So what is M1 Rail? It's a light rail system or reed streetcar in the downtown area, much like Portland, Seattle, connecting downtown Detroit to the New Center District. The New Center District is 3.5 miles north of the Detroit River in the downtown, along our main artery, Woodward Avenue. Why light rail? The national ground swell, access and mobility, what we're talking about here. These are all things you all know about here. Job creation, every $1 invested in transit is equal to $4 to $8 in new development. Success stories, again, Portland, 3.6 miles of the streetcar system, which we looked at, $103 million cost, $2.5 billion of new development. Dallas, $3.3 billion of private investment, 32,000 jobs in 5 years. You can go on and on in terms of the examples of now that we have in America, United States, of light rail and streetcars. The context is in 2007, 2008, a regional plan was approved by the mayor of Detroit, leadership of Wayne, Oakland, and Macomb counties, for a regional plan of transit throughout the southeast Michigan, or specifically the three-county region of Detroit. The city of Detroit, DDOT, selects Woodward Avenue as its light rail focus. Then the business leaders were exploring a catalytic project on Woodward Avenue. That's the M1 Rail Group, which really was formed as a private, non-for-profit 501c3 organization. Roger Penske, who many of you know as an automotive leader in Detroit, as well as the fellow who put together the Super Bowl in Detroit and many other great activities. He's the chairman of the Downtown Detroit Partnership. Dan Gilbert, who's the vice chairman of this, who's the CEO and founder of Quicken. And Matt Cullen, who's the CEO of this M1 organization, formerly of General Motors, who I worked with Matt at General Motors in my previous life. And Matt's now with Quicken as well, but also heading up, spearheading this organization. And M1 Rail will become the first phase of a regional plan. So that's important. This is not being done in isolation. It's being done first and in the downtown area, but it's part of our regional plan. The M1 organization, as I mentioned, is a 501c3. The projected cost of this streetcar light rail park downtown is $125 million, mostly of private funds. The M1 organization is enabled by state legislation, which allow it to actually get some match in terms of operating funds down the line. So what is M1 again? It's 3.4 miles with 12 stops. It'll run on both sides of the street. It'll run like a streetcar, one lane out from the curb lane, run a mixed traffic in the downtown area, and then we'll probably switch to a center median somewhere north of downtown. It'll be commingled. Stations will bump out from the sidewalk to meet transit vehicles. This is much like the Portland system, the Portland streetcar system, and other systems you'll now see around the country. There'll be no business or residential dislocation expected. Here's a rendering looking from Midtown Detroit, looking towards downtown at the top of the slide. That's our orchestra hall on the right, and then seeing the streetcar running there along the light rail running along on the left-hand side of the picture there. Again, we're looking at modern transit vehicles, the cool contemporary addition to the city. Again, people talked about the young people that are really looking to live in neighborhoods and have transit that is cool. These are some of the destinations, and it was mentioned earlier, I think Portland talked about making places, building places, placemaking. That's what this is all about too, creating the destinations in downtown Detroit, creating probably a dozen destinations, making them all together a great place, a great downtown. Starting at the top of the slide, we have what was referred to as our new center area, which was where General Motors' Old World headquarters was at up until 1996. Henry Ford Hospital, a major medical campus up there at the north end of our downtown. The Amtrak station just south of that area, where there will be the connection coming in, already is from Chicago, the Amtrak Chicago train, as well as the new connection on the commuter train coming in from Ann Arbor. The Tech Town, which is a growing area now, just adjacent to that in terms of new innovative bioscience as well as other research and technology happening there. The College for Creative Studies, which is campus is just expanded with a $150 million complex up in the New Center area, as well as our main campus in Midtown. The Cultural Center, Midtown area, Wayne State University, Detroit Institute of Arts, the Detroit Medical Center, that are all in this Midtown area. Tremendous regional assets for the Michigan-Detroit region. Then we move down further south into the performance venues, the sports stadiums, where we have the Fox Theater, we have the Masonic Temple, we have the Comerica Park, the Ford Field, that are all right there, just north of the CBD of downtown Detroit. And then we come into Campus Martius as we go south of there. Campus Martius is now the center and really the hub of the business district in downtown Detroit, as well as a major activity center year-round. The downtown area financial district, and then ending at the Detroit riverfront with Hart Plaza and the Cobo Convention Center at the left part of the slide and the Renaissance Center at the right part of the slide. So there's at least a dozen major destinations within this 3.5-mile corridor that we're going to try to connect with the light rail system and help fill in between them. This is a place now, as a kind of joking the starting this thing, where if you drove your car in, because that's the main way to get into Detroit primarily, you'd park it in one place, and if you're going to go 4 or 5 blocks away, you'd get in your car and drive again. Or if you're going to go, you're downtown and you want to go up to Midtown, you'd have to get in your car and drive. And so all of this wasted energy, as well as finding parking spaces, duplicate parking decks, et cetera, is all hopefully will be assisted in terms of solving those kinds of problems. The connections that M1 Rail in the first segment will make with the Detroit People Mover, which is our circulation system downtown that was built in 1980. It was meant to tie into something. Something never got built until hopefully this will come in to tie in. It's a one-way loop. If you've ridden that, it's great for sports events. It really doesn't get used much often other than that. But it's a great system that we hope with M1 to tie into, even looking at possibly making it a two-way system so that you can really, off of Woodward Avenue, tie into the destinations that are connected by the People Mover. DDOT and Smart Bus routes that come into downtown, the Mega Bus, Intercity Bus, Transit Windsor, it has a tunnel bus coming in that you can connect to the M1 rail. Intercity rail, as I mentioned before, Ann Arbor and Detroit, future rapid transit corridors. Again, the hope is this ties into a regional system for commuter rail coming into Detroit and connects most likely north of West Grand Boulevard and it'll align with the regional plans coming in, both from the north as well as from the east and west. Economic impact, again, the major goal of this from the private funders' point of view is twofold. One, to create new economic development and help tying together these destinations and having downtown grow in terms of residential population as well as business activity, but also be a catalyst for the future segments and phases of rail and commuter transit in Detroit. So connect Detroit's largest employment entertainment centers, mixed-use development, foot traffic for shops and restaurants, create walkability in this downtown area. There's very few places in the downtown area that are actually walkable pedestrian zones. And again, if you went back 30, 40 years ago, downtown Detroit had some of the most walkable pedestrian areas in the country, even exceeding some of those places in Manhattan. So we've got to bring that back in terms of the ability and interest and comfort of people walking throughout the greater downtown. Increase property values and tax revenues and a foundation for regional transit. Quality of life, increasing density and walkability, connections with greenways and bike paths. There's a lot of great activity going on right now with greenways and bike paths in this greater downtown area. Attention, retention of young professionals. There's a huge effort now in terms of trying to bring in the young creatives. Just like Ann Arbor talked about, we don't want them to go to Pasadena. We could say we don't want them to go to Ann Arbor, but we do. But we want them to come to Detroit as well. I think I skipped ahead here, so I must have hit a button. Anyway, I'll just sum up because I hit a button that I can't retrieve here, I don't think. But she might help me. No? End of show. Is that what you were looking for? Right. Opportunities for residents of all incomes. We talked, yeah, there was the last slide anyway, so that's okay. So again, there's in this greater downtown area, there's about 20-some thousand people that live, probably 125,000 people that work. And so the idea here is, again, to bring people into this area to be able to move about easily and with fun, and as well as the people that are living there. If they buy a house, buy a condo, get a loft, they don't have to have two cars, even if they only work 2 miles away. So thank you very much.